The Hyundai Tucson has spent the last few years quietly becoming one of the most important cars in its class. And this plug-in hybrid N-Line is the version that shows how far the model has traveled. This is no longer a value alternative trying to punch above its price. It is a compact SUV that walks into a showroom full of established European and Japanese rivals and asks them directly what they are offering that this car does not. Sitting here at the dealer in this deep gray paint, with the N-Line body kit and those dark machined alloys, the Tucson looks like it costs far more than it does. The front end is where the design does most of its talking. Hyundai calls the look Parametric Dynamics, and the half-mirror grille is the centerpiece. When the lights are off, it reads as a single dark surface. When the daytime running lights come on, the grille appears to break apart into those jewel-like geometric shapes, and the effect is genuinely striking in person. The N-Line treatment adds a more aggressive lower bumper, a wider air intake, body-colored side moldings, and a darker, sharper jaw than the standard car. It is not subtle, but it is well resolved, and it gives the Tucson a presence that most family SUVs simply do not have. Down the side, the creases in the metalwork catch the light in a way that makes the car look like it is in motion even when parked. The roofline tapers toward the back, the gloss black pillars create a floating roof effect, and the 19-inch N-Line alloys fill the arches properly. At the rear, the full-width parametric light bar stretches across the tailgate. The hidden rear wiper sits tucked under the spoiler, and twin exhaust tips poke out from the diffuser. That detail matters more than it sounds, because plug-in hybrids usually hide their tailpipes or delete them entirely. Hyundai left them visible here, and on the N-Line that decision fits the sportier intent. Standing close to the car under the dealer lighting, the gray paint shifts noticeably depending on the angle, picking up a cooler, almost concrete tone in the shade and warming up where the light hits it directly. It is the kind of finish that photographs flatter than most grays, and it pairs well with the gloss black trim that the N-Line scatters around the lower body. Inside is where this generation of Tucson made its biggest leap. And stepping into the N-Line cabin, you understand the appeal immediately. The dashboard is built around a pair of curved displays that flow together under a single sheet of glass. A 12.3-inch driver cluster paired with a 12.3-inch touchscreen. The layout is clean and horizontal, and crucially, Hyundai kept a separate climate control panel below the screen rather than burying everything in menus. There is real switchgear here, physical controls you can find without looking, and after years of car makers deleting buttons, it feels like a relief. If walkarounds like this help you sort the genuinely good interiors from the ones that just look good in photos, subscribe so you catch the next one. The N-Line specific touches lift the mood further. The seats are finished in black with suede-style inserts and red contrast stitching. The steering wheel gets the same red thread and an N badge, and the metal pedals add a sporting note underfoot. The materials where your hands and elbows land feels solid. The gloss black center console houses the rotary-style controls and a wireless charging pad. And the overall impression is of a cabin that takes itself more seriously than the price suggests. There's a panoramic glass roof overhead on this car, which floods the interior with light and makes an already airy space feel even bigger. The back seats are one of the Tucson's quiet strengths. Legroom is generous for this segment. The floor is nearly flat, and the door openings are wide enough that getting a child seat in and out is not a wrestling match. The rear passengers get their own air vents, USB charging ports, and the seat backs recline for longer journeys. Tall adults will sit behind tall adults without complaint, which is more than you can say for several pricier rivals that sacrifice rear space for a sleeker roofline. Looking at the load area with the parcel shelf in place, the boot is deep enough to swallow a full weekly shop below the line of sight, and the buttons on the boot walls drop the rear seats remotely, so you do not have to walk around to the doors to fold them. The boot is where the plug-in hybrid asks for its one real compromise. Because the battery has to live somewhere, cargo space drops to around 558 liters, which works out to roughly 19.7 cubic feet. That is down on the standard Tucson and the regular hybrid, and you notice it most in the slightly higher boot floor. But the space that remains is well-shaped, square, and usable, with a wide opening and very little intrusion from the wheel arches. Fold the rear seats and it opens up to a long flat load bay that handles flat-pack furniture and bikes without drama. The trade-off is real, but the daily efficiency you get in return is what most plug-in buyers are actually shopping for. That brings us to the powertrain, and this is the part of the Tucson story that changed for the better. At the heart of the N-Line plug-in is a 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder paired with an electric motor and a 13.8 kilowatt-hour battery. The combined output is 284 horsepower, sent through a 6-speed automatic to all 4 wheels through Hyundai's HTRAC system. That makes this comfortably the most powerful Tucson you can buy. And on the road, that power translates to a car that feels quick and confident rather than merely adequate. The numbers behind the badge are worth understanding. The electric motor produces enough torque to move the Tucson on battery alone for up to around 44 miles on the European test cycle, which is enough for most daily commutes to happen entirely on electricity. Plug it in overnight, and you could go weeks between fuel stops if your driving stays local. When the battery does run low, the petrol engine takes over smoothly and without drama, and you are left with a normal hybrid that does not strand you waiting for a charger. That flexibility is the entire point of a plug-in, and the Tucson executes it without fuss. It is worth being honest about one limitation. Charging is handled by an onboard system that tops the battery up over a few hours from a home wall box, and there is no rapid DC charging here, so you cannot splash and dash at a motorway charger the way you can in a full electric car. Some rivals are starting to add faster charging to their plug-in systems, but the counterpoint is straightforward. A plug-in hybrid is designed to be charged slowly and cheaply at home while you sleep. And with 44 miles of range that overnight top-up covers, the kind of driving most owners do all week, which takes most of the sting out of the slower charge. The ownership case is where the Tucson pulls genuinely ahead, and it is the reason this car keeps winning over buyers who came in to look at something else. Hyundai backs the Tucson with one of the strongest warranties in the business, and in the United States, that means 5 years or 60,000 miles of bumper-to-bumper coverage, plus 10 years or 100,000 miles on the powertrain and the hybrid components, including the battery. Against a Toyota RAV4 Prime, which offers a shorter basic warranty, or a Ford Kuga plug-in, that coverage is a meaningful financial cushion. When a buyer is nervous about the long-term cost of a complex plug-in system, 10 years of powertrain protection is exactly the reassurance that closes the deal. Reliability supports the warranty rather than contradicting it. The current Tucson scores well in independent quality and dependability surveys, sitting comfortably above average in its class. And the turbocharged engine and hybrid system in this car have now been in production across multiple Hyundai and Kia models for several years. The known weak points on earlier versions, mostly minor infotainment and software niggles, were addressed in the move to this generation's completely new display setup. Resale value has tracked upward too, with the Tucson holding a healthy share of its value after several years, which is not something this nameplate could claim a decade ago. Pricing is where all of this comes together. In Romania, this Tucson plug-in hybrid N-Line lands in the low 40s of thousands of euros, which works out to roughly $50,000 once converted. That is not cheap, and a buyer could spend less on a lesser Tucson or a smaller SUV. But line it up against a similarly equipped plug-in from a premium German brand, and the Hyundai undercuts them while matching or beating them on standard equipment, warranty, and cabin technology. The heated seats, the dual curved displays, the panoramic roof, and the N-Line styling are all here without a long list of expensive options inflating the final number. On a German premium rival, the same panoramic roof, the larger displays, and the heated seats would each appear as separate cost options. And by the time you match this Tucson specification, the price gap would be thousands of euros wider. That is the part of the value argument that does not show up in a headline price, and it is the part that tends to surprise buyers most when they sit down and compare two configured cars side by side. What the Tucson plug-in hybrid N-Line represents is a brand that no longer needs an excuse. A decade ago, recommending a Hyundai over an established European rival meant talking around the badge and leaning on the warranty to win the argument. Today, the conversation is different. This is a car you can want for how it looks, how it is built, and how it drives. And the value case is simply the part that makes saying yes easier. For anyone shopping the compact plug-in SUV segment, the Tucson has quietly stopped being the sensible alternative and started being the one the others have to answer. For watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or questions. I read every single one. And don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified about my next upload. See you in the next video.